Hey, I'm Grant. Welcome to a Stay of the Channel for January 7th. I've been wanting to try and do these on Friday because it just works out a lot better than on, say, Monday. Also, I'm actually doing this the day before because, to be honest, I'll do it the day of, and then I find out it's like, well, what's the point? Because I'm not posting it until like 10 p.m. at night by the time I get to it and like edit it. So that's kind of my goal, to get back on a track with these. So I wanted to give a couple different updates. So I did work on this Photoshop project. That's going pretty well. But I had a goal. I wanted to put out a RuneScape video, an OSRS video before the end of the month, which was a while ago, 7 days ago, I guess, as of today. And I actually did start this. But I sat down and I really wanted to try and do something pretty good with it and like push myself on in terms of like technical quality, I guess you could say. And that kind of delayed it because the original point of that like OSRS series was to make it really quick. So when I sat down, it's like, well, I kind of solved that. So what's the new style for this show I was kind of trying to put together? And as I sat down and like went through it, I was thinking about what I wanted to see. Like a big thing I hate about OSRS videos on YouTube is that they all look the same. Every single person's is exactly the same. It's usually unrelated game footage. That's the entire video, and they just talk over it. Maybe you get some graphics. Maybe you get at least a cutaway. But for the most part, it is just raw footage. It's probably in like 480p because that's like the minimum game size that people use. And I just did not want that. I wanted it to be something that was more than every other OSRS video on the net. Not necessarily more, but just like something more to it. So I sat down and I actually spent a good part of this week doing stuff like filming alternate footage. I put in some live action. I made like some new logos. I made a halfway decent background. And just trying to feel all that out has taken up a lot of time. Like, for example, I don't want to do just again, here's just 10 minutes of gameplay footage that I talk over. So I was like, okay, well, I gotta cut between these. Well, normally, if you do like a talking head, like interview style video like that, you usually have like an A-roll, which is just the person talking, and then you cut to like a B-roll, just like whatever they're talking about, and you can cut back to A. Well, I was having this issue where I didn't want to do like a live action like this, where I'm just talking to the camera, because like that's, in a way, just another cheap way to do those videos. Like I would just be turning this OSRS video into essentially a vlog, basically what this is. And that felt like that was just exchanging one cheap thing for another. So I didn't want to do that. But then I ran into this thing where, okay, well, now it just feels I'm haphazardly cutting between clips. So I sat down and was like, okay, well, I want to make a background and I don't want to just rip something from Google Images. I want to actually do it in Photoshop. And so I threw something together, and then that kind of like became another thing. And I was like, well, I could do the thumbnails based off of this, and I could do some like a simple little logo based off of this. So I like started developing these little, I guess you could say, assets that are usable. And I was like, oh, well, I really want to get some music. But again, I don't want to just be the dude that just rips it straight from OSRS, because I always kind of hate that. I feel like that's a really cheap, simple solution. Like it's fine, but particularly when people do it for like other videos that aren't OSRS related, that in particular just feels like odd to me. Like you could do better, unless it already is a pretty low effort video. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get an intro piece. I'm going to get an outro piece. I'm going to get like a little, I don't know what you'd call it, but essentially like a song that plays underneath when I talk, so that any silences kind of get like, I don't want to say covered up, but it doesn't feel like all of a sudden you get like no sound in the video for 2 seconds and I cut back in. It's less jarring. It flows a little bit better. And when I sat down and did that, it's like, oh, this is actually looking kind of nice. I would say I kind of like push myself in terms of like trying to do stuff, but at the same time, I do feel like it's a little clunky. So I'm trying to like finish it up, put it together. I'm really trying to shoot for finishing it before Monday, just to get that out there. And honestly, I just want to get it out there, get some opinions on it, and just kind of self-reflect on that and see like, okay, what worked? what didn't work, what can I do going forward, stuff like that. Because I only aim to do one OSRS video a month at this point. If I can nail down the style I like, that'll be a lot easier. Like, if I've already got this halfway decent background and logo, I could, if I just want to use those as a default, I theoretically could just be like, this is the intro, this is the outro, background, bottom track, and then I just have to fill in the blank, which might be easier to do. I could do it maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. But my goal is right now just get that one out, see how I feel about it, see if it has more legs. I think that's the big thing, is like, I don't expect it to do amazingly well, but I'm really curious about like retention, because I think usually you can tell that if it's a halfway decent video and what you're talking about is interesting, people will watch the whole thing, and the cutaways and stuff will keep it interesting. So if I see like good retention on some stuff, I might pursue more of a style like that, as well as doing more like that in other videos. Because ultimately, it is just an OSR's video. It's a pretty simple video. There's nothing I'm not gonna say that I'm particularly like amazed at in it. It's just like, it's OSR's. It's simple, but it's probably gonna be the first like new style of video I put out in a while, because these are very casual, very simple. I just sit in front of a camera and talk, whereas that's a lot more composed. But also, I could bring a little bit more of my technical skills into it. Whereas when I look at stuff like editing my cooking show, really the technical skills are fairly irrelevant, because it's all live anyway, and it's like I can't go refilm it. There's nothing for me to really cut. All I do is just like cut 2 frames earlier, cut out 10 seconds, massage it a little bit if I need to like hide something, but it's really simple. But I'm hoping to do more, because eventually what I'd like to do on this channel is more like live action stuff. But that takes a little bit to build up to make that decent and interesting. On that note, I'm actually looking to get some improvements for my like gear. Like, I've been using the same mic for like 6 years, and I have like these mics, which are just simple XLR ones. They're like $15. But my quote unquote good mic, it's fairly old, and it's always been fine. But I feel like for the amount of use I've got out of it, I think I might look into getting a little bit better of a mic, as well as potentially looking for like a decent setup. Like, I have a little closet I was thinking I could turn into like kind of a sound closet, so that if I want to like record lines that don't need live action, I could do that in a nice, theoretically more soundproof little space. Whereas like down here, it's a lot of reverb, and like it's the same basically everywhere else in my house because of how open it is. But that could be a nice little thing, as well as honestly it'd be nice just to be able to stand and like read lines, compared to like sitting. I just feel like compresses everything. So that's something I'm definitely looking at down the line to kind of improve the audio, because that's something where I know I need to improve it. Like, even now, I feel like I'm a little bit too close to the mic, or there's a little too like popping. But it was always something I had to do reactively. Like, I need to get back in the flow of editing so I can take notes and be like, wow, I really need to improve that, or man, my sound quality is just not at the snuff, or I know it's off, but I don't know how to fix it. That's all stuff I have to like get back in the flow in order to even like attempt to fix it. So it's going to be a little bit more down the line. But that's kind of like the little update I have. Other than that, just been working on a lot of like technical skills in terms of editing, and just like Photoshop, After Effects. I'm definitely a very amateur at After Effects, but I like the idea of getting some of like the simpler stuff out of my system, so that when I ever get a chance to do something cooler, it flows just a little bit easier. So hopefully looking to do some more stuff in the future. Like, I still haven't solved what I want to do for a good like live action series. I still want to do that. I don't know if I want to do like skits, if I want to do like a one-man thing or what have you, but I'd love to do something that's multi-person, live action, like composition. So more than just a podcast where it's like the cooking show, we just kind of record it live and I just do the cameras after the fact. I want something that's like, hey, we are going to go film this scene or this bit, and we're going to film this bit, and then create assets and bring that all together as what I would call like a compilation, but not like a montage, but just like a bunch of scenes I put together that are technically filmed out of sequence and with like different requirements. That's something I feel like has a lot more potential to stand on its own. It's a project that doesn't, in my words, lean on anything. Whereas like I've never wanted to commit too hard to say like OSRS, because I feel like why build a channel on that if it's just going to be gone one day? And even then, it's like, yeah, it's like I'd be better off just doing stuff on my own, and that's entirely original, but it does help to actually teach myself using things like that. But the goal is to always make it just a little bit more, or at least a little bit more focused on what I'm doing, my opinions, my thoughts, versus just kind of regurgitating what a piece of media is, whether that be games, movies, books, etc. So that's going to be my update. Hopefully going to get that video out by this Monday, which is going to be, 3 days from the time this is going to come out. Hopefully committing to a Friday-based schedule of these little state of the channels just to kind of keep myself rolling on that schedule. Which, the biggest thing is just trying to film it on Thursday. Honestly, that's the biggest thing. It's that way I have plenty of time to have a turnaround, because I like having like time-based commitments and saying like, oh, it's going to come out every Friday at 9 a.m. It's like, well, realistically, I'm not going to wake up at 6 a.m. to film this. I'm not. So just like getting it done on Thursday just gives me a lot more massage time, leeway to get something in and talk about what I want. Plus, I've always felt, if there's one thing that kind of like pushes me the most along to do the stuff I commit to, it's sitting in front of a camera and just talking about it. So cool. That's the update. My name's Grant, and I will this time see you on Friday. Bye.